Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Tomorrow we shall be celebrating Sri Krishna Janmashtami. Krishna willing. We never know what will happen, even in a moment from now. Nishvaso naiva vishvaso kadarudho bhavishyati. Even our next breath, we can't be sure. But anyway, conventionally we say we're going to celebrate Sri Krishna Janmashtami tomorrow. And why? Why should we so? Why should we do? Why should we worship Krishna? Well, there could be many answers to that question. And one reason is that Krishna is naturally worshipable. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Aradhyo Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam. Aradhya. Krishna is worshipable. Bhagavan, as she said, worshipable. Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, is worshipable. That Srila Prabhupada, he writes in one purport that, what is that? In Bhagavad-gita he says, to not worship a demigod, one may be considered discourteous. But if you don't worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you're thoroughly condemned. Remember that? It's in one of the Gita purports. It's the 647, is it? You're talking about bhaja. Srila Prabhupada is defining the word bhaja. Bhajate yao mams, same yukto tamo mataha. And it's a classic line. You want to read it? 647. It explains the word bhaja. So we should worship Krishna. And there are so many reasons. One can avoid worshipping a demigod, a respectable man, or a demigod, and may be called discourteous, but one cannot avoid serving the Supreme Personality of God without being thoroughly condemned. Good line. Puts so much of Bhagavad-gita into perspective. So, Aradhyo Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is worshipable. Aradhya means worshipable because He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Specifically, Vrajesha Tanaya, Krishna, the son of the king of Vrindavan. So specifically, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is worshipping Krishna in Vrindavan, Tadhama Vrindavanam. One reason to worship him is because he is Ananta Kalyana Guna Vishishta. His specialty is that he is possessed of unlimited, both in number and extent, transcendental qualities, which are all beneficial for the world. And Srila Rupa Goswami has listed 64 prominent qualities of Krishna, of which in the last few days we've been through 28. Now we'll go on to 29. Magnanimous. Any person who is very charitably disposed is called magnanimous. And we may think, well, that's Lord Chaitanya, isn't it? Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tvishe Nama. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most magnanimous because he gives love of Krishna. He is Krishna appearing as Krishna Chaitanya. But it doesn't mean that Krishna is a miser. He comes to this world for the benefit of the world. Very charitably disposed. And the example is given, we're talking about how specifically Chaitanya Mahaprabhu worships Krishna in Vrindavan with Srila Rupa Goswami, who is the foremost promoter of the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He gives many examples also from Krishna's pastimes outside Vrindavan. Sometimes we think we should only concentrate on Vrindavan pastimes, and maybe even more specifically the 5 chapters in which of the Bhagavatam in which the Rasa Leela is described. But Rupa Goswami and the other Vaishnava acharyas, they also comment on pastimes outside. It's not that we reject or forget Krishna outside Vrindavan. So an example of his charity, when Krishna was reigning over Dwarka, he was so magnanimous and charitably disposed that there was no limit to his charity. And he was so charitable that his giving of charity in Dwarka exceeded, it showed an opulence more than that of the spiritual kingdom. In the spiritual world, Chintamani prakara sadmasu kalpa vriksha lakshaviteshu surabhir abhipalayantam. Krishna in Golok Vrindavan, the land is made of touchstone, and you can get anything. And there are desire trees, and the surabhi cows, they're also giving. So whatever desires will be fulfilled. Of course, in the spiritual world, no one desires anything except to please Krishna. But you can get anything you want in the spiritual world. But when Krishna was residing in Dwaraka, as manifested on this earth, his giving in charity was so profuse that the opulence of Dwarka exceeded that of Golok Vrindavan. And another example is given. He expanded himself into 16,108 forms to live in 16,108 palaces with 16,108 queens, but every day from each palace he gave 13,054 cows who were all decorated with opulent clothing and ornaments daily. So that gives some idea of his magnanimity. One of the names in Vishnu Sahasranam, Bhuri Dakshina. He gives profuse charity, and the commentators, they comment on Lord Ram giving profuse charity at all the sacrifices he performed. But Krishna's giving in charity exceeded that even of Ram. Number 30, quality number 30 listed, religious. This is translation of, generally the word dharma is translated as religion. So, one who personally practices the principles of religion, dharma, as given in Shastra, and also teaches the same to others, is called religious, dharmic. Srila Prabhupada here in the Nectar of Devotion makes the point that simply to profess a kind of religion, I am a Christian, I am a Hindu, whatever, that is not very meaningful. But you must act according to the principles. And by his personal example, he should teach others. And in regard to Krishna, when he was present on this planet, Srila Prabhupada writes here, there was no irreligion. Or if there was, then Krishna, he came to this world to uproot the unrighteousness. In this connection, Narad Muni once addressed Krishna jokingly, calling him, my dear Lord of the cowherd boys, you're bulls, because bulls are the symbol of dharma. While eating grass on the pasturing ground and moving around on their four legs, they have eaten up all the grass of irreligion. So the four legs of the bull of dharma, they represent four principles of dharma, which are mercy, cleanliness, austerity, and what's the other one? Truthfulness. Thank you very much. So they're eating up irreligion. So that's Krishna's cows and bulls. They're eating the grass, and that is symbolic of getting rid of all the irreligious activities. See, Krishna was performing so many sacrifices and inviting the demigods from the higher planetary systems. And therefore, the wives of the demigods thinking, what happened to our husbands? They should come home. They're always away with Krishna. So then they started praying for the appearance of Buddha avatar, because Buddha stopped all the sacrifices. They thought if Buddha comes, then there won't be any more sacrifices. Then we can get our husbands back. We don't celebrate in the Vaishnava religions. We don't celebrate Buddha Purnima. When is that? Who knows when that is? Anyone know? Anyone? We don't know. We just don't know because we don't celebrate it. Buddha Purnima. It's the day after Nrsimha Chaturdashi. It's supposed to be the day of his appearance, his enlightenment, and his passing from this world. It's a big festival in the Buddhist world. And Srila Prabhupada here says that, well, if anyone asks you, why don't the demigods come from the higher planetary systems down to the earth like they used to? And the answer Srila Prabhupada gives us here is that Buddha stopped all the sacrifices because he had to stop the animal killing. And therefore they stopped coming. They got out of the habit of coming. Of course, the Sankirtan Yagya, they're also joining in. Worshipping Lord Chaitanya, they join in. Brahma Adi Devagone, they're Brahma and all the demigods are offering the arati to Lord Chaitanya. Okay, more qualities of Krishna. Number 31, heroic. We don't expect God to be some miserable coward. He's a great hero. Mama virya samvidaha. Kapila Dev says, it's very pleasing. Satang prasangan mama virya samvido. Bhavanti hrit karna rasayana kataha. It's very pleasing and spiritually nourishing to hear about Krishna's activities, specifically the word he uses here, virya, his heroic activities. Srila Prabhupada states here, a person who is very enthusiastic in military activities and expert in releasing different kinds of weapons is called heroic. So Krishna's expertise is already demonstrated. His quality of being expert is already discussed, how he was expert at releasing different kinds of weapons. And that is also a factor in his being heroic. He's enthusiastic in military activities. Likes to fight. And he's good at it too. Fighters like to fight. Right? What's the use of being a fighter if you don't fight? We find that people, they may be their whole life a military man, but they never get the opportunity to fight. So those who have that spirit, they like to fight. Barnasura, felt, I got these 1,000 arms and they're all itching. Sometimes I go and smash the mountains because I want to fight with someone. And Lord Shiva said, you fool, Krishna will come and smash you. So he did. That's said in Bhagavad-gita also, isn't it? Sukhina kshatriya parata labante yudhami drisham. Kshatriyas are very happy to get the opportunity to fight. So Krishna likes to fight. There's a statement addressing Krishna. My dear killer of the enemy, just as the elephant, while taking bath in the lake, destroys all the lotus stems within the water by swinging its trunk, so simply by moving your arms, which are compared to the trunks of elephants, you have killed so many lotus-like enemies. Regarding Krishna's expertise in releasing weapons, when Jarasandha and 13 divisions of soldiers attacked Krishna's army, they were unable to hurt even one soldier on the side of Krishna. This was due to Krishna's expert military training. It's all due to his guru. This is unique in the history of military art. Compassionate, quality 32. A person who is unable to bear another's distress is called compassionate. And in this regard, again reference to Jarasandha, when all the kings who were imprisoned by Jarasandha, somehow they sent a messenger to Krishna. And Krishna, he wanted to help them from their pitiable condition. They'd been great kings, and now they were in dungeons, dark dungeons. They were living in the darkness and nothing, no proper food. But when Krishna appeared, he dissipated the darkness of the dungeons and dissipated the darkness of their lives. And so Krishna did that out of his sincere compassion for them. Another example is that when Grandfather Bhishma was lying on a bed of arrows, his body was so shot through, and when he fell down and it made a bed of arrows. But he was very anxious to see Krishna, and therefore Krishna went to see him. And Krishna, seeing Bhishma's condition, that the respectable grandfather of the Kuru dynasty couldn't move now, and he was lying on the bed of arrows, and Krishna shed tears and was feeling great compassion for Bhishma Dev. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada comments here, instead of offering obeisances to Krishna directly, devotees offer obeisances to his compassionate nature. Actually, because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is very difficult to approach him. But the devotees, taking advantage of his compassionate nature, which is represented by Radharani, always pray to Radharani for Krishna's compassion. So we're celebrating Janmashtami, and then after that, Radhashtami. Krishna's a bit tough. Radharani isn't. Quality number 3, respectful. A person who shows adequate respect to a spiritual master, a brahmana, and an old person is to be understood as being respectful. When superior persons assembled before Krishna, Krishna first of all offered respect to his spiritual master, then to his father, then to his elder brother Balaram. And we find this repeatedly in descriptions of Krishna when he would meet with the Pandavas. He would offer respects to Yudhishthira and Bhima, who are older than him in years, according to conventional social rules. And he would embrace Arjuna and accept respect from the twins, Nakul and Sahadev, who were younger than him. So in this way, Krishna established the etiquette of offering respect to superiors, even though he is worshipable by everyone, everywhere. He took pleasure in offering respect to those who were socially his superiors, and he was very happy to do so. In this way, Lord Krishna, the lotus-eyed, was completely happy and pure at heart in all of his dealings. Quality number 34, gentle. Now we've heard about him being heroic, killing thousands of soldiers, and he's also gentle. That means that all qualities are present in him. There's a time for being gentle and there's a time for fighting. Any person who neither becomes impudent nor exhibits a puffed up nature is called gentle, sophisticated behavior. An example is given similar to the respectful as given previously. That when Krishna arrived, coming to the Rajasuya sacrifice organized by Yudhishthira Maharaj, that Yudhishthira Maharaj wanted to get down from his own chariot to receive Krishna because he knows that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Krishna was quicker than him, and Krishna got down more quickly from his own chariot, and he fell at the feet of the king. So in this way he properly observes all the social etiquette and is therefore considered cultured and civilized, bhadra, gentle. Then we have liberal, which is again similar to, if we take the English words, it's similar to magnanimous. So number 35, liberal, who by his natural behavior is very mild. Someone who has that quality is called liberal. And Uddhava noted that the Syamantak jewel, that whole episode, Akrura eventually came into possession of that. But even though in coming into the possession of the Syamantaka jewel, Akrura's behavior was, you might say, somewhat questionable, but Krishna didn't take this into consideration. He was very respectful to Akrura, taking into account that Akrura is his senior relative and devotee, and Srila Prabhupada comments here, if a servitor is accused even of great offenses, Krishna does not take this into consideration. He simply considers the service that is rendered by his devotee. Number 36, shy. Do we ever think of Krishna as being shy? He doesn't seem to be shy, but that's also one of his qualities. A person who sometimes exhibits humility and bashfulness is called shy. And in this regard, Srila Rupa Goswami quotes from the drama Lalita Madhav, which is composed by Srila Rupa Goswami. He's quoting his own work. That is inspired work. He doesn't think it's my property, it's my own artistry. It's his gift to the world, revealing Krishna Lila. So there it's described how Krishna's shyness was manifested when he lifted Govardhan hill with a little finger of his left hand. And the gopis were very happy. They could see Krishna. They didn't have to make any excuses. They could directly see Krishna. They didn't have any choice. They could directly gaze on him. And Krishna was very happy at seeing the gopis. But when his glance went over the breasts of the gopis, his hand began to tremble, and he's holding up the Govardhan hill. And the cowherd men became, said here, a little disturbed. And there was a tumultuous roaring sound. They said, Krishna! Praying to Krishna for safety. And Lord Balaram was smiling because he knows Krishna's prowess and that Krishna is not going to drop Govardhan hill. But when Krishna saw Balaram smiling, he thought, oh, Balaram understood why my hand is shaking. And he became bashful. Very important quality for us who are on the path, Sharanagati, trying to surrender to Krishna. Quality 37, the protector of surrendered souls. Here is described how an enemy of Krishna thought, well, I don't have to fear Krishna because if I just surrender to him, Krishna will protect me. It's a roundabout way of thinking. It seems he wasn't such a big enemy, because the real big enemies, they'll never think of surrendering to Krishna. They'll rather die at Krishna's hands. Krishna is sometimes compared to the moon, because the moon sheds his soothing rays upon the houses of the pious and the impious. Number 38, happy. An important quality of the Supreme Lord, because in the Abrahamic theistic systems, we don't have any vision of God being very happy. He seems to be pretty uptight. He's busy throwing everyone into hell. He doesn't seem to be a very happy kind of person. Grumpy old man. But Krishna is very happy. We see pictures of Krishna. He always looks very happy. A person who is always joyful and untouched by any distress is called happy. The standard of material happiness is first and foremost to have lots of money. That's considered standard of happiness. But even the ornaments, what to speak of all the household paraphernalia and the palaces, even the ornaments on Krishna and his queens were beyond the dreams of Kuvera, who's the treasurer of the heavenly worlds. Then another symptom of happiness is to have entertainment. And Krishna, before the doors of his palaces, there was constant dancing, entertainment going on, of a standard that even the demigods in the heavenly kingdom could not imagine. Indra in the heavenly worlds always has the opportunity to see the Apsaras dancing, but even Indra couldn't imagine how beautiful the dance is going on in front of the gates of Krishna's palaces. The example is given. Gauri, the name means white woman, and Lord Shiva's wife is called Gauri. But the beautiful women residing within the palaces of Krishna were much whiter even than the wife of Lord Shiva. They were compared to the moonshine. But although the moon is only available in the night, they were constantly visible to Krishna. Therefore, no one could be more enjoying than Krishna. He's the supreme enjoyer, the supreme happy person. Enjoyment materially means kanaka kamini, wealth and women. So Krishna has, but not in the materialistic way. In the materialistic way, wealth and women, they cause bondage and distress. But Krishna has wealth, ornaments, women in such a measure beyond the imagination of Kuvera, Indra, Shiva, or anyone else. But because they're all completely transcendental, they're not causes of distress, even in the slightest way. They give the actual happiness that people imagine they will give in materialistic life. People imagine that these things will give them happiness, but they don't. But with Krishna, they actually give happiness. And not so that's one symptom of happiness, is to have all the paraphernalia for happiness. And another symptom is that no distress. You can have all the wealth and everything in the world, but if you have a toothache, you can't be happy. We don't hear about the dentists in Dwaraka. There are no toothaches or any other kind of ache. Not even a slight distress can touch Krishna. As the Brahmanas were performing sacrifices, it said here that some of the gopis went to that place and said to the wives of the Brahmanas that you must know that not even the slightest trace of distress can touch Krishna. He knows no loss, he knows no defamation, he has no fear, he has no anxiety, and he doesn't know any calamities. He's simply encircled by the dancers of Vraja and is enjoying their company in the rasa dance. So supremely happy Krishna. Then number 39, which links with the previous two, protector of the surrendered souls, and happy. Krishna's happy not so much by having all wealth and paraphernalia for enjoyment, but because of his intimate loving relationships with his devotees. So quality 39 is that he is the well-wisher of his devotees. And in this regard, we have here in the Nectar of Devotion that Krishna is so kind that if devotees offer Krishna even a little lotus leaf in devotion, little water, tulsi leaf, then Krishna is so kind, he will sell himself. He'll feel himself unable to pay the debt for that devotion, and therefore give himself to his devotees. We had the quality previously of Krishna's equanimity. He's equal to all, but he's also favorable to his disciples, which seems contradictory, but it's right there in Bhagavad-gita. Right? You know that verse? Who knows that verse? Yeah, you know. You're studying with Vidvan Gauranga. You should know. Anyone else? Anyone else know that verse? Samoham? Anyone? Samohang sarvabhuteshu name dvesho nasti priyaha. Krishna says, I'm equal to everyone. I don't particularly favor anyone. I don't particularly hate anyone. Then in the very next line, Krishna contradicts himself. Ye bhajanti tu mam bhakta maite te shuchapyaham. But anyone worships me in devotion, I'm favorable to him. So both things are true. With Krishna, he is equal to everyone, but if anyone comes forward to worship him, he reciprocates also. And the example is given here of Krishna's favoritism towards his devotees. That when he was fighting with grandfather Bhishma, and again this Bhishma lying on his bed of arrows, Sharashayana, the bed of arrows, and in the presence of Krishna, Bhishma remembered how Krishna had been so kind to him on the battlefield. How was Krishna kind to Bhishma on the battlefield? By fighting him. This is how Kshatriyas think. Bhishma was in that mood of Vira Rasa with Krishna. He wanted to enjoy a mood of heroism with Krishna. And Krishna had promised he would not take any weapon to attack in the battle. He would be present, but he wouldn't take up any weapon. So Krishna was driving Arjuna's chariot, but Bhishma gave the vow. Krishna's going to have to break his promise. Either he's going to have to break his promise not to fight, or he's going to have to contradict what he said in Bhagavad-gita just before the battle, that my devotee is never vanquished. So Bhishma said, I'm going to attack Arjuna so powerfully tomorrow that Krishna is either going to either Arjuna is going to be killed and Krishna's promise to protect his devotee will be nullified, or Krishna will personally have to fight me, and that way his promise will be nullified. It sounds like a plot that someone is out to show Krishna's wrong, and that kind of thing may be done by non-devotees, but in this case it's done by a devotee. So it's all in the spirit of devotion. Even though Bhishma was attacking Krishna, he was attacking Arjuna, and Krishna happened to be in the way, in between, because he was managing the chariot. And Bhishma was successful. And in this way, Bhishma, having instigated Krishna to attack him, praised Krishna, that how you're so attached to your devotees, in this case to Arjuna, that to protect Arjuna, you broke your promise. And then another very important quality for that the devotees want to hear about in relation to their practice of devotion to Krishna. Quality number 40. He is controlled by love. God means He's the supreme controller. Any theist will, whatever religious system they follow, He's the supreme controller. No one can control Him. But He is controlled by love. Just at the beginning of this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion, there is one statement which made my head spin when I first read it, and the second time I read it, and the third time I read it, that the very definition of God is that no one is greater. He says in Bhagavad-gita, what is that verse? No one is greater. No. Mataf parataram nanyat kinchid asti dhananja. No one and no thing is equal to or greater than Krishna. That qualifies Him as God. Asamordva. There's one statement. No one is equal to Him, and also no one is above Him. So that's the definition of God. That means He controls everyone, everything. But in the Nectar of Devotion it's stated that Krishna is supreme, He's the supreme controller, but He's controlled by love. That means that devotion is stronger than God, greater than God. So, greater than God. Greater than God? What does that mean, greater than God? That is another symptom of His greatness, that He becomes controlled by love. Srila Prabhupada writes, Krishna becomes obliged to the loving spirit of the devotee and not exactly to the service rendered. We just heard how Krishna is willing to sell Himself to one who offers a little water and tulsi leaf to Him with love. So, what's that going to do for Him? Even if we offer Him mountains of gold, it doesn't make any difference to Him. It's all His anyway. There was one bogus incarnation of Krishna, one of this many who used to appear in India regularly until Srila Prabhupada started preaching very strongly that these are all bogus. We don't see bogus avatars these days in India. There used to be a regular factory line production of bogus avatars in India, but one of them was reputed to make gold. So what? Little gold. And the real God produces all the planets with all the gold and can produce as much as He likes. So what can we offer to Krishna? Nothing actually, but He becomes obliged to the spirit of service. Srila Prabhupada writes, no one can serve Krishna completely. He is so complete and self-sufficient that He has no need of any service from the devotee. You may think, well, what's all this about then? Devotional service. And here Srila Prabhupada is writing, well, Krishna doesn't need it at all. So why are we encouraging devotional service? And here's the answer. It is the devotee's attitude of love and affection for Krishna that makes him obliged. And an example is given when Sudama, see we have another example here from Dwaraka. Sudama, who is a childhood friend of Krishna's, but he was so poor. He went to see Krishna, but he didn't have anything to give Krishna except some very low-grade chipped rice. But when he went to see Krishna, Krishna felt very pleased to see him, and accepting that little bit of low-grade rice, which is not fit to offer to the deities, but it was offered with love. Don't take that as an excuse to offer garbage to the deities. But Krishna was so pleased that even though Sudama didn't want any material reciprocation, but his wife wanted it, and he got opulence beyond his imagination. But that Sudama didn't even think that this is the real mercy of Krishna. Another instance of Krishna's obligation to his devotee is when Mother Yashoda was trying to tie up Krishna, but she couldn't. Who can tie up Krishna? Bring all the ropes in the house, bring all the ropes in the neighboring houses. You can't tie up Krishna. But eventually Krishna became compassionate upon Mother Yashoda, who was perspiring and perplexed and tired, trying to tie up Krishna, and Krishna agreed to be tied up, not actually by ropes, but by the love of Mother Yashoda. So he was tied up. Pranaya Rashanaya, that's described, that word is given. He's tied by the ropes of love. Number 41, quality, which includes all the other qualities, all-auspicious. All the qualities put together means that Krishna is all-auspicious. But specifically, the definition is given. One who is always engaged in auspicious welfare activities for everyone is known as all-auspicious. And this quality could be discussed unlimitedly, because everything Krishna does is for the welfare of everyone. And even the punishments we receive from material nature, if a person commits sinful activities, they get punishment. But that's also auspicious. That's also given by Krishna. It's also for the benefit of everyone. After Krishna had disappeared from this planet, Uddhava, remembering the activities of Krishna, remembered how Krishna satisfied all the great sages by his wonderful pastimes. He demolished the demoniac activities of the cruel, sinful royal order. He protected all the pious people and killed all the cruel fighters on the battlefield. Therefore, he's all auspicious for all men. In his auspiciousness, here it's described, he protected the pious. So he's auspicious for the pious people in protecting them. But he's also auspicious for the impious people by killing them. And in this way he stops their sinful activities, relieves them from all their sinful reactions, and delivers them from material existence. Krishna says, Sarvadhaman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva paipabhyo moksha yishami masuja. Surrender unto me only, I will deliver you from all sinful reactions. And when Krishna kills someone, then they're forced to surrender to him. They don't have any choice. And then he delivers them from all sinful reactions. So we can do so voluntarily and get love of Krishna, or if we do so involuntarily, well, if we're killed by Krishna directly, that's a great boon for the demoniac, delivered from all sinful reactions in that way. Quality number 42, most powerful. And again, to be God, you've got to be most powerful. There's no meaning to God unless He's most powerful. And here is described a person who can always put his enemy into calamities is called powerful. And again, this could be described in hundreds and thousands of books, and actually is, but just in summary, Rupa Goswami states that when Krishna was personally present on this planet, he was just like the sun who drives away all darkness, and the darkness has... What happens to the darkness when the sun comes up? What happens? It hides in caves. So in the same way, Krishna drove away all his enemies who had to hide away. Or another example, like owls. We generally don't see owls in the daytime. So they all fled away from powerful Krishna. Number 43, all famous. One can become famous for all kinds of things. The most famous person of Georgia was famous for being the greatest tyrant and despot of the 20th century. Who else is famous from Georgia? And he outshines them all, I guess. Yeah, he's way ahead of all the others. Makes Hitler look like a nice guy. But that's not the kind of fame that Krishna has. A person who becomes well known due to his spotless character is called famous. Because there's fame and there's infamy. We have those words, fame and infamy. Yash, apayash. Kirti, apakirti. So famous should be for good qualities. And Krishna's character is spotless. And again, the example is given of the moonshine. Krishna's fame turns darkness into light. And Srila Prabhupada comments here that if Krishna consciousness is preached all over the world, the darkness of ignorance and the anxiety of material existence will turn into the whiteness of purity, peacefulness, and prosperity. The example given is again of Gauri, the wife of Lord Shiva. What happened? Narad was chanting the glories of Krishna, and the bluish line on the neck of Lord Shiva disappeared. It's just like Krishna's flute playing makes the Yamuna river become solid, stop, it becomes stunned. And the solid items, like the rocks, they become liquid. Everything loses its natural characteristic. So in the same way, Lord Shiva, who is distinguished by the bluish line on his neck, that disappeared when Narada Muni was doing kirtan, glorifying Krishna. And then Gauri, the wife of Lord Shiva, thought that there was some impostor who was imitating her husband. And she left immediately. She thought someone's come to try and imitate my husband. Similarly, the chanting of Krishna's name, Balaram, who wears a bluish dress, his dress became white. The gopis saw that the water of the Yamuna this time didn't stop, but the water turned into milk, And what do gopis do when there's a lot of milk? They churn it into butter. And Srila Prabhupada again comments, by the spreading of Krishna consciousness or the glories of Krishna, everything becomes white and pure. Quality number 44, popular. Who likes to be popular? Who wants to be unpopular? Generally, we would prefer to be popular, right? Popular means well-liked. Politicians like to be popular, but that's only for their own aggrandizement. But Krishna is automatically very dear to people in general, unless they're demons. So any person who is very dear to people in general is called a popular man. In this regard, there is a statement in the Bhagavatam that when Krishna was returning home to Dwarka from Hastinapur, he'd been away from Dwarka for a long time, and all the residents of Dwarka were feeling morose. But when he returned, all the citizens joyfully received him and said, "Dear Lord, while you were absent from the city, we passed our days in the darkness of night. As in the darkness of night, every moment appears to be a long duration of time, so, while you were gone, every moment appeared to us like millions of years. Your separation is completely unbearable to us." So Srila Rupa Goswami gives us this as an example of how Krishna was so much loved and popular in Dwarka. Everyone loved him. Again, the example of Krishna was just like the light. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hoy Andaka. Krishna is just like the light, and Maya is just like darkness. And Rupa Goswami gives another example. When Krishna entered the wrestling arena, arranged by King Kamsa, it says here, arranged by King Kamsa for his death. He arranged it for Krishna's death, but actually it was an arrangement for his own death. That's what practically happened. As soon as Krishna entered that arena, all the sages cried out, "Jai, Jai, Jai," which means victory, intimating that it was Krishna who would be victorious. Krishna was posing as a young boy, and all the sages present, they offered their blessings to him, as is appropriate. But they knew he's God, but they recognized that, but they also offered blessings to him. The demigods at that time offered prayers to Krishna, and the ladies and girls also expressed their joy at seeing Krishna. And there was no one in that particular place with whom Krishna was not very popular. Well, they were all conscious of Krishna. There were the wrestlers, Malana Mashaniya, they saw Krishna as a thunderbolt. Kamsa saw him as death personified. They all, one way or another, they were all everyone became very Krishna conscious as soon as Krishna entered the wrestling arena. Now again we have a quality similar to that which we just discussed. Quality number 45, partiality to devotees. In this regard, there is a statement of a devotee. When Krishna was on this planet, a devotee addressed Krishna, "My dear Lord, if you had not appeared on this planet, then all the demons and atheists would have created havoc against the activities of the devotees. And how bad they might have been to the devotees, we cannot imagine. But by your very presence, you have curtailed all the activities of the demons. And actually, from the very beginning of his appearance in this world, practically from the very beginning, Krishna was killing demons. He came to this world to kill the demons, which shows his partiality to the devotees. Both are comparable. He's all-auspicious, both for the demons and for the devotees. So when he is seemingly inimical towards the demons, he's also giving them mercy, because the demons who are killed by Krishna are immediately liberated from material life, which is a great blessing for them, because if they're allowed to go on with their sinful activities, then they cause so much distress to the world and they have to face so many sinful reactions. But Krishna immediately clears all their sinful reactions. Here's a quality of Krishna, number 46, which again in the Abrahamic religions they might think is scandalous, but it's understandable by the devotees. Quality number 46, very attractive to all women. Any person who has special qualifications becomes immediately very attractive to women. And I believe it's Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also comments that Krishna is especially partial to women. He's very, very kind to women and gives the examples of the elderly gopis in Vrindavan, the younger gopis in Vrindavan, the wives of the Yajnik Brahmanas, and then we can extend that the women of Mathura. He protected the 16,100 princesses who otherwise, even if they were released, they were unmarriageable. Their lives were spoiled, but Krishna married them. So Krishna is very attractive to all women. In his appearance as Ramachandra, he went to Mithila and took the hand of Sita Devi. But all the women of Mithila were attracted to him, but he had a vow only to take one wife. So they came again in his next appearance as Krishna, and then many of them became gopis in Vrindavan. Not only is Krishna attractive to women, but he's attractive to men also, and so many men also took birth who were attracted to Ram. We find the sages in the forest of Dandakaranya, they were very much attracted to Lord Rama's beauty, and they wanted to relate with him as a consort. But they also had the opportunity when Krishna came he came again. And then there are different groups of gopis. Some of them were rishis in the forest, some of them were women in Mithila, and Krishna gave them all the opportunity to associate with him and be with him, just as his loving female friends. About the queens of Dwaraka, the devotee states, how shall I describe the glories of the queens of Dwaraka, who are personally engaged in the service of the Lord? Krishna is so great that simply by chanting his names, great sages like Narada enjoy transcendental bliss. And what about the queens who are with him all day, every day, serving him, personally enjoying his association? Krishna, with his 16,108 queens in Dwaraka, they were all fully attracted to him, like iron to a magnet. There's another statement which Rupa Goswami gives in this regard to Krishna, that you are just like a magnet, and the damsels of Vraja, the gopis of Vrindavan, they're like iron. Wherever Krishna moves, the gopis are attracted. Whatever he does, wherever he goes, it's just like the principle, iron will always be attracted to a magnet. Quality 47, all worshipable. That quality should be for the Supreme Lord. He is worshipable by all. It is the duty and the natural propensity of every living being to worship Krishna. And if one doesn't do so, then he's thoroughly condemned. We have that quote. But Krishna is respected and worshipped by all kinds of human beings and demigods. Therefore he's called Sarvaradhya. He's worshipable by everyone, all worshipable. So all living entities, Yang Brahma, Varunendra, Rudra, Maruta, Stunvanti, Divyai, Stavai, hey, all the great demigods headed by Brahma and Shiva, the wind demigods, the Indra, they all offer prayers to Krishna. Not only the great demigods, but even all the other forms of the Supreme Lord. Beginning with Balaram, they all worship Krishna. They all like to serve Krishna. Balaram in particular serves Krishna in all possible ways. And a practical example is that when Krishna came to the Rajasuya sacrifice organized by Maharaj Yudhishthira, all the most respectable persons in the universe were present. But Krishna naturally became the center of attention for them all, and everyone offered respects. When a great person comes, then naturally he'll be the center of attention. If the president of Georgia, who's not known outside Georgia, I guess he's famous within this country, if he was to come here, everyone would, take attention, take notice, big important person. So Krishna is the president of the whole universe. So when a bigger person, the president of Georgia may be very big, but then on the world stage there are bigger, more important people. So if the president of Georgia, presuming there is a president, I don't know what system of government they have here, but if he's present and there also happens to be the leaders of Russia and China and the United States present, he won't seem like a very big person in his own country. Big fish in a small, what is it? Big fish in a small pond. But when Krishna's present, even Vyasa was present, Yudhishthira himself was a big man, so many great demigods were present, but Krishna became the cynosure of all eyes and worshipable by everyone, which that was accepted that Krishna should be worshipped first of all, and Shishupal denied that. Krishna is all worshipable, and if you don't want to accept it, then you become a demon like Shishupal. All opulent, quality number 48. Krishna is all opulent. That's another definition of Bhagavan. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has all opulences. Aishvaryasya, samagrasya, viryasya, yashasya, shreyaha, jnana vairagya shaiva, shandang bhaga itingana. This is a definition of Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has all wealth, all power, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation. About the opulence of Krishna, it's stated here that the Yadu dynasty in Dwarka, Krishna's family, had 560 million members. That's a pretty big family. Nowadays, if you have 3 children, they think it's a big family. If you have 5 children, whew. 10 who has 10 children nowadays? It used to be very common. 10, 12, 13, 14. How about 560 million? It's inconceivable. They were all obedient and faithful to Krishna. There were more than 900,000 huge palaces there just for his family members. And they all respected Krishna as most worshipable. So this is a sign of the opulence of Krishna. What about the opulence of Vrindavan? In this regard, Rupa Goswami quotes from Bilvamangal Thakur's Caitanya-caritamrta. My dear Lord, what can I say about the opulence of your Vrindavan? Simply on the ornaments on the legs of the damsels of Vrindavan are more than Chintamani, and their dresses are as good as the heavenly Parijata flowers. The cows exactly resemble the Surabhi cows in the transcendental abode. Therefore your opulence is just like an ocean that no one could measure. Number 49, all honorable. That's a little different to all worshipable. All honorable, to be respected by all. Who is the chief among all important persons is called all honorable. And again the example of Krishna in Dwaraka. Eventually, after coming to the end of a list of 60, we come to 4 special qualities which are particularly exhibited by Krishna in Vrindavan. But many examples are being given here by Srila Rupa Goswami of Krishna in Dwaraka. Here's another example of how Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Indra, the king of heaven, and all other big demigods used to come to Dwaraka to visit Krishna. And the doorkeeper had to manage them all. And one time he got a bit flustered when so many demigods. And he got a little upset and he said, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, just sit down here and wait. And Indra, stop reciting all these prayers. You're making too much of a nuisance. Just sit down silently. And Varuna, just go away. Don't waste your time. Krishna's busy. He can't see you. So there are examples. Satyajit came to see Krishna in Dwaraka wearing the Syamantaka jewel. And all the residents of Dwaraka said, oh, the sun god's come to see you. They just presumed it must be the sun god. And Krishna said, no, it's not. That's not the sun god, that's Satyajit. So it's just expected in Dwaraka that regularly so many big demigods would come to see Krishna. Okay, now I'm supposed to stop a few minutes before the arati, so I'll do that. And Krishna willing, we can go through the remaining qualities tomorrow morning. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Hare Krishna.